Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RCN Sports Talk presented by The Morning Call. We have a lot of great topics to touch on tonight. NBA basketball, high school baseball, and some college football spring recaps, and a thought or two about Major League Baseball and about the draft going on tonight. But first, everything starts with the introduction of the co-host of the program, senior sports writer of The Morning Call. And in 90 minutes, he will declare himself as the official PR person for Saquon Barkley, Mr. Keith Edward Groller.
We get a long line for me to get behind that. Everybody loves Saquon. It's a big night for him.
It's unprecedented coverage. We're excited to see how Saquon does tonight, hopefully early on.
And because we got a deadline, and I hope he goes second and not seventh, as some people have him going.
Yeah, so Keith actually will be leaving halfway through the show to go out and cover the coverage at some of the many Saquon Barkley parties that are going on tonight. Let's get to our first guest leading off the program, talking a little NBA basketball. We'd like to bring in via the Skype line Becca Winkert, social media correspondent. It's really an outstanding story in herself, what she has done as a big fan of Wizards basketball and creating this media empire. Becca, thanks so much for joining us on Sports Talk this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Becca, first of all, let's just talk about yourself. You've kind of been an entrepreneur and built up yourself in this age of social media and all this technology out there with your sites on Instagram and Twitter at Becca MVP. And you've also become a contributor on NBC Sports Channel in Washington for the post-game and pre-game show on the Wizards radio network and TV network. How did you kind of start on this? I know you were a fan from a long time ago, and you kind of built this up through social media. What's it been like?
Well, I started being a fan at a very young age, thanks to my dad, who's also a Wizards fan. Mm-hmm. And the problem was I didn't have a lot of friends that were into basketball. So I decided, hey, I'm just going to go on Twitter. And I think this was around 2014 when I started my Twitter account. And so far, you know, we have up to 4,000 people on there that are following me that are Wizards fans. And it's just really exciting to interact with them. And you can also interact with the media on there. And you know, I didn't have any friends that were into basketball, but now I have 4,000 of them. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people follow you and really appreciate your insights. And people that follow you on Instagram and Twitter, they've seen that you've had a lot of great insights as the Wizards seasons and now the playoffs has gone on. I know one of the people that you work with, Glenn Consor, he's been on our program before as well. You're a contributor on his pregame and postgame show. What's it like working with him? He's a true professional, been in this industry for a long time. And I know he's been asking for you to give him social media tips. So how is that going in training Glenn about modern technology?
Glenn is truly the sweetest person I've ever met, and he's the most professional person I've ever met, and he loves to interact with people, and he truly knows the game inside and out more than anyone. Like if I need to do a podcast or if I need to make a YouTube video, he's the first person I'll listen to. Like I'll go to his radio show and I'll listen to it because he's just so knowledgeable. And he told me he would help me with my camera interviews if I helped him with his social media. So hopefully, you know, we can arrange something because I'd really like to help him out. But, you know, he gets busy, so it's understandable.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that'll be the end of the positive questions because the Wizards, they were playing really well last night. I thought they had a chance. They were down by 6 up until about 3.5 minutes left. But they were getting second chance opportunities. They weren't getting the putback shots to go. Their defense kind of fell apart down the stretch. It kind of left a bad taste in your mouth, I would think, in the fourth quarter of Game 5. What was your takeaway from the Game 5 loss to Toronto yesterday?
Well, I mean, we had it the whole game. You know, we were right there with them the whole game. Everybody was getting open looks. Everyone was defending well. And it just came down to the final few minutes, and we just didn't get the shots to go. And it was just really unfortunate because we know we can beat that team, but it came down to the fourth quarter, and we just didn't have it.
Yeah.
Tell me about Mr. Beal and Mr. Wall, and we hear a lot of like they don't get along and they don't play together really well. And you know, the thing about Washington, and I want to get your take on this as well, Becca. That's the nation's capital, but it seems like it's the frustration capital with everyone. You know, going to the Nationals, Capitals, Wizards, even the Redskins just can't seem to get over the hump. After you answer the question about Beal and Wall, tell me about the general sense of the mood of those folks down there who just, you know, They're used to getting to the playoffs, but they can't get all the way to the prize.
Well, first of all, Beal and Wall, there's been a lot of rumors and speculations about them not getting along. But as far as I can see on the court, I don't see any issues. I mean, they work very well together. And in Game 3, they both had 27 points and Wall had 14 assists. And it just, it's things like that, yeah, there might be something going on, but it doesn't show on the court. And that's really what matters the most. As far as DC sports go, it's DC depression is what I like to call it, DC sports despair. It's very frustrating because we have a lot of talent here, but for some reason we just can't implement that and translate that into getting past the first round or a second round or, possibly winning a championship. And it's hard for us sports fans, but we're loyal down here. So we're okay with it, but we're not okay with it. Mm-hmm. Like after every game, we're like, okay, I'm done. We're not watching it anymore. And then, we're like, okay, see you next Friday to watch the game. So it's frustrating, but, that's the life of a sports fan. We can't all be winners.
How much, and I'll get back to the Wizards in a second here, but how much speculation on what the Redskins are going to do in this draft? Obviously, they lost Cousins. He's gone, and there's been talk.
Was the NBA draft going on tonight? I hadn't noticed.
There's been talk about Des Bryant. I just want to get your thoughts on this. I know she's well-versed in the whole Washington scene. So what are your thoughts on what the Redskins might do?
I am not sure what they will do, but they definitely need to build up on our defense because defense is just as important as offense. So hopefully they'll get somebody that will be able to help us that way.
Yeah, I agree. I've been hearing a lot about the defense this year. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I said this about a year and a half ago with John Wall, I thought he was the most underrated superstar in the NBA.
Absolutely.
I still think that, but down the stretch run of the regular season, and I want to give you credit because I think you were the first one. A lot of people were saying when the Wizards started losing down the stretch run, they started falling in the standings. You said at first that you think that the team wasn't playing with heart, and I heard a lot of other people kind of echoing that it doesn't seem like they're interested for whatever reason, which was hard to believe, but it certainly looked like that was the case. And that's usually when I look to the leader like a John Wall or Beal or someone like that, someone of that ilk who's been around to kind of step up. Could you talk about that observation you had about not having heart or not appearing like they played with heart down the stretch run? And do you still think that John Wall is still the most underrated player, superstar anyway, in the NBA?
Well, they did play without heart, like we had talked about with Glenn Consor. And I just feel like, you can totally tell the team chemistry. They weren't jiving together. It didn't look good. Like plain and simple, it didn't look good. And I think for them, it just was a matter of gelling back together, seeing how, remembering John Wall with the team and seeing how he would, lead the team and be the director. Because when he was gone, it was Bradley Beal. But I don't think that Bradley Beal was ready for that role. Mm-hmm. And he was good with that role for a while, a few games, but it didn't last long. So to have John Wall back and kind of, direct traffic is amazing. And to be honest with you, I will always defend Wall, so I'm going to say that he is underrated. Yeah. And people don't recognize his talent. And it's unfortunate because he's not on a winning team all the time, so people don't see that. And this season was supposed to really be his, breakout season. Last season we saw, what he could do. But unfortunately this season he was playing with, what I like to call one knee. His other knee wasn't there. So how can we judge him when he's not fully healthy?
Yeah.
When Kyrie's out, we give him, leeway. Why don't we give John Wall leeway?
Yeah, it's a good point. And, too, it's funny because Ben Simmons was saying for most of the year he was underrated in Philadelphia, but now with Joel Embiid in the national spotlight and the success they've now had in the first round of the playoffs, I think people are kind of appreciating him where John Wall, if they don't win this first round against Toronto, he's probably going to be
They're just
right
going to
back
bypass him.
Yeah.
Becca, your sense of the East, obviously Wizards got some work to do here, 2 games to win. If they can do it, how would they match up? I guess, who would they play in the next round?
Probably Cleveland.
Cleveland, right?
Well, they'd probably play Cleveland. And I think if they want to get past Cleveland, they're going to have to understand that the defense always needs to be there. That's how they beat Toronto, and that's how they got game 3 and 4. The defense was there. They challenged their shots. And, you know, sometimes with LeBron, it's like his shots are going to go in no matter what. If he wants to score, he's going to score. So that's fine. But the Wizards need to carry that defensive momentum into the next round. And, you know, the offense is, you know, an obvious thing that they need to do. And hopefully they'll carry the chemistry, too.
Yeah.
Becca, assuming they can't get it done, assuming they lose either Game 6 or Game 7, where does that franchise go from here? Are they going to get into the free agent market at all? You know, it seems like they could use at least one more marquee player down there.
Yes, I definitely think that they're going to look into free agency. I think they're going to try to find another role player that can definitely come in and be effective. And hopefully we can get DeMarcus Cousins. But, you know, there's been rumors, but we're not too sure about it. But I think having him with John Wall would be great because they were teammates before.
Yep. Becca,
but we definitely need to shake things up.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, every year it's like, you know, they get to a certain point, it's like, all right, they make a tweak here, they make a coaching change here, and then you hope that'll make it to the next step. That's all right.
I do think we need one more person that's definitely going to come in and help us. Because, you know, we need that offense. We need someone who's a star, who's a veteran, who knows what they need to do, and just kind of bring them in and take over with him.
All right. Before we let you go, your keys to a victory, Game 6, you got home court advantage, which is huge. What do the Wizards have to do to win? And then can they go on the road and win a Game 7 if they win tomorrow night?
I would say stop DeRozan's offense. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. You know, get the threes, stop their threes, and just, you know, be efficient both ways. And that's all they need, and they'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, well, I appreciate your time. Best of luck, and we'll continue to follow you, again, at Becca MVP on Twitter, on Instagram, and she has some great stuff on her YouTube page as well. Becca, best of luck in Game 6 and hopefully 7 for you tomorrow night.
Thank you so much.
Great
Thanks
job,
for having
Becca.
me.
Great job.
Becca Winkert doing a great job building up the social media wave of the future, really, for sports broadcasting, and Becca's doing an outstanding job in the DMV. All right, we're going to take a break and be back in just a moment. Our first timeout feature of the evening. For the Phillies, they have certainly turned things around through the first month of the season, overcoming some major communication issues the first week of the year. We caught up with first-year manager Gabe Kapler and the new non-traditional closer, Hector Neris, and asked them about what's it been like overcoming those issues.
Like good, you know, everybody stay together, everybody stay concentrated, good communication in the bullpen with the coaches, like doing the same in the spring training we do, working for win, play for win, and help the team for win.
I think we've learned a lot. I mean, every day has taught us a new lesson, and I think that's going to be true going forward for the rest of the season, about our bullpen, about our lineup, about our pinch hitting capabilities. And it's a nonstop learning experience. If you think you know it all in baseball, you're going to get surprised and humbled. So we feel confident that every day is going to be a learning experience.
You know, the game, you have the role in the game, because your role is when you be in the mound. It's your role, you know. You have to do it, whatever you have to do for win, for help the team for win. No matter what inning, what situation, you there for a reason. If the manager call you, the reason is because he know you can help him for win the game.
Yeah. So you don't mind 8th inning, 9th inning, middle of an inning?
No matter what. I can start in the game if he wanted to. You know, the game is important. Like no matter what inning it is, the 7 and the 9 and the 6 and the first, because the important is you have the 27 out.